Howdy folks, welcome back to Grumpy Viking Tactical. I am your host, Mighty Bjorn, and today for you, I'm going to be doing a bit of a belt review. This is a Kmioc belt. This is actually a leather belt that you can get on Amazon. They're not quite too expensive, but quick disclaimer before I get into the review itself. A representative from Kmioc actually had reached out to me. There was no money exchanged. The only thing that was exchanged was my address to them, and they sent me the belt. That was all that was exchanged. And with that being said, there is an understanding that I am going to give my full and honest opinion about the belt, about the different tests I did, etc., etc., which I will be showing some of the testing here during the video. Really quickly, I want to get these guns shut up. I just want to show that all these firearms are cleared for the brevity of YouTube, because people seem to get a little crazy about that stuff. I got ridiculed about a video I did a long time ago now, where I was handling a firearm and they said, "You should have cleared it before you started the video." Yeah, I did. So ever since then, it's been a standard that whenever I am handling a firearm in a video, that I show that yes, the firearm is clear. Okay, now let's talk a bit about the Kmioc gun belt. So when it came in a padded package, like a big padded envelope, and it came in a box like this, which came in some cellophane wrap. When inside the box itself, that's just a shipping slip. It came with a little card, which I will tell you what's on the little card here in a minute. And it came with said leather belt, which I will give you a close-up of the belt here in a minute, so that way you can actually see the features of said belt. Let's cover the card first, because this is the thing I found interesting when I was looking at the specifications and the information about the Kmioc belts. The thing that really caught my attention is that actually it has a lifetime warranty. And that got me really interested in the first place because, well, it's a leather belt. Leather wears out. There's only two reasons to, essentially, as a forethought here, realistically, there's only two reasons you'd want to put a lifetime warranty on a product. One of those is you're literally making the product so cheap, but you're going to sell so many that it doesn't matter how many times people actually claims that warranty. The other one is the product is so good, no one's going to claim that warranty, or I wouldn't say no one, but very few people are going to claim that warranty. Well, over my lifetime, I don't know how many belts I've owned. I've lost track decades ago at this point. Not like I was ever keeping track in the first place. So the fact that it's a leather belt with a lifetime warranty got my attention when I was after the representative had reached out to me. And essentially the card says, "Thanks for your purchase. Warm notice. If buckle or screw or stitching is broken in any time, please email us through buyer system. We will ship a new one for your replacement. Our service is for lifetime. Thank you." So not really well written card, but the fact is it's not just one of those things that they're putting it the lifetime warranty, that they're saying, oh, this is a lifetime warranty belt. They're actually backing it by sending the card information. Now, with that being said, I didn't have to, I have a need to claim the warranty, which I'll get into here in a bit. But essentially, I can't tell you how much they're really going to honor that. I believe they will. Now, what I will do here next is I'm going to do a quick close-up of the belt itself, and then I will get into discussing the testing that I did on said belt to kind of come to the conclusion of the quality of belt that it is. Alright folks, just going to show the belt off here really quick, and this is just going to be close up. Now here is the back side of the leather, and this is a 100% Italian made full grain leather belt. As you can see, it is actually a quite thick belt. It's at least twice as thick as a normal belt you would get. Now one thing I want to point out here is there's literally no hole stretching whatsoever, or if there is, it's very little. Now on the back side, the stitching's not extremely heavy, but it's still pretty heavy enough. It's more than like what your clothes has. On the front side, the stitching is really thick, and it's stitched all the way through. The thickness of the leather is very consistent. There is a loop here for your belt. You get a stained brass buckle, which is actually pretty nice. As well, it is attached by 2 screws. I had no issues with the screws coming loose, but I definitely want to I will talk about those screws a bit more in the conclusion. Now with that being said, with it being screws like that, you could actually swap this belt buckle out. Now on the front of the belt, this is the brown version. There's also a black version, and it is a nicely finished and dyed brown belt. I mean, it's actually, overall, it is a good quality belt. Pretty decent quality when it comes to the make of the belt, and it is just one solid thick piece of leather. It's not layered leather. They didn't take multiple layers and stitch them together. It's just one layer all the way straight through. There's no filler in here or anything like that. So yeah, actually pretty good overall in design on that end. The only thing is I don't see any company markings or anything. So when it comes to the warranty, I really don't know how that's going to be dealt with on that end. As I said, I didn't have to claim that, so I don't know on that experience. Now let's get back to some more information here about the belt and the testing. Okay, now I want to discuss the testing a bit. Also, I want to apologize really quick about the fan running in the background. It is actually a really hot day. It's almost 90 degrees. It's very humid outside, and I actually have this room sealed off from the rest of the house, so that's the only thing right now keeping it sort of comfortable in here. So the testing, when I talked to the representative really wanted me to use my everyday carry gun, and I didn't. This is my Springfield EMP4. This is a essentially a 1911 style handgun. It is a commander style handgun, so it's a smaller style 1911, shorter barrel. I didn't go with this firearm, and I will go with, essentially as I sit here and discuss things, I will go with why. The first thing is the most testing I did was actually with my Smith & Wesson Model 3904. The reason I went with this handgun for most of my testing, including some range testing, was because this handgun, the weight of this handgun is actually lighter than this handgun, and I feel like this particular handgun here is going to weigh about as much as the average carry gun. Understand that this is a CCW belt. This technically isn't a duty belt, which I also want to get into on that in itself. I keep alluding to a lot of different things, which I'll get to during the conclusion. But the weight of this handgun, I feel, is going to be pretty close to your average handgun weight. So close to your Glocks, things of that nature. That's why I went with this handgun for a good chunk of the testing. And I also, what I did is essentially I had put my Bulldog holster on the belt, and essentially I'd done you know, put the handgun in the holster and did put it on the belt and did my normal everyday activities with that handgun on my hip. So what did I get? Really nothing to speak about. The belt supported the weight of the handgun perfectly. I really didn't have any issues with my pants or my shorts actually sliding off my butt, because that's kind of one issue I have with certain belts, is they don't really support the weight all that well. When I did the testing, it supported the weight of this particular handgun very well. So if you own a Glock or something like that, this belt will definitely do the trick when it comes to supporting the weight. Now I got some range testing footage here, so let's. All right, folks, I'm out here going to show you some more about this Kmioc belt. And this is, like I said, it is a CCW belt. So what I have here is I have my Smith & Wesson model 3904. I am actually loaded up. This is a 9mm handgun. It's a pretty lightweight handgun, and this is probably roughly the weight a standard concealed carry handgun is going to be, or at least the average concealed carry handgun is going to be, considering the popularity of polymer frame handguns. Now this doesn't have a polymer frame, it has an aluminum frame, but it is a single stack magazine handgun, so even though it's probably a little bit heavier than some of the various Glock models out there, it's still going to come out to the same average weight when fully loaded. And this is a Bulldog holster, so it's just a standard, you know, no thrills holster that works. Anyway, I'm going to do some controlled pairs here, and you can see how it handles weight. Now that being said, this is actually a lighter handgun than my concealed carry handgun. I usually, when I do concealed carry, I carry a Springfield EMP4, which is just a little heavier than this one is. Let me get my ears on here, and we'll do some controlled pairs so you can see me using the holster and things of that nature. On here, had a bit of a hand cramp as I pulled the trigger back. So I mean, as you can see, it's supporting the weight. Actually, for this handgun, it's supporting the weight extremely well. There's really no flex or anything in the belt, so it's doing a great job on that end. We'll do one more here. So yeah, there you go. Supports the weight of the Springfield model 3904 pretty good. Let's take it on back to the review and we'll do some more discussion. Okay, so with that being said, the range testing I felt was really successful, and it really showed the capabilities of the belt. It kept the handgun in position as I needed it to, and generally I did that testing. I actually did that testing multiple times. I just showed you that one group, but that was actually one of 4 different groups of testing I did with this handgun. And essentially I kept doing that just to kind of confirm the test results. Did the belt stay in, you know, did the holster and the handgun and the belt and the whole 9 yards stay in position? And the reason I did the testing that way is because that would make me multiple times get the handgun from the holster and put it back in the holster. So it would, you know, that constant shift in the weight. When it comes to concealed carry, that many times throwing it that much was a lot more than you really are going to do. So I felt it passed that test with flying colors. Now, I ramped it up. And this is where I come and play with this. So this is kind of my medium weight handgun when it comes to the weight of my handguns, or at least the weight of my semi-autos. This is my TSOS Raider. This is a 1911, but this is a heavier than average 1911, which is why I decided to use this for my next round of testing. this is actually a chunky boy, mostly because it has the accessory rail. The accessory rail adds additional weight to it. And while I don't feel 1911s are necessarily, or at least full-size 1911s, are necessarily the most popular concealed carry handgun, I felt this would be more on the extreme end of what weight you would be carrying on your hip with this belt. Understand that there's obviously heavier handguns out there than this. Now with this particular testing, I had used my Black Hawk Serpa holster, and this is how it is set up. This is called a jacket sleeve, and essentially what this does is it mounts on the back of my Serpa holster, and what it does is it lowers it down and it gives it a more comfortable pull, more comfortable draw, if you will, as well as it's also got a leg strap. Now when I did the testing, I tested it both with and without the leg strap, because the leg strap, depending upon what you're doing, could give extra leverage on the belt, as well as it can also help support weight. So I did various testing, including controlled pairs, which I will get to that footage here in a minute, to more or less show, or to more or less see how well it's going to handle the weight of a 1911, as well as a 1911 with a setup like this. Because let's be honest, this is not a concealed carry type holster. This is a duty holster system. And honestly, I was quite impressed once again with the results. But let's get to the testing itself. All right, folks, we're back out here at the range, and we're going to do some more testing here to show off of the performance of this Kmioc belt. Sorry, I'm still struggling with pronouncing the name of the belt here. But what I have here is I have my TSOS Raider. I have it fully loaded. This is a 1911 and 45 ACP, and this is a bit heavier than your average 1911 pistol because it is an all steel design, as well as the gun itself, the firearm itself, has an accessory rail, which makes it a bit more heavier. But I figured I would continue doing some controlled pairs, because that would show me drawing the pistol and putting it back in the holster and constantly reaching for the handgun and things of that nature, and showing how the belt performs when under sustained load, especially sustained load this heavy. Now understand, folks, this is not my everyday carry handgun. This is actually heavier than my everyday carry handgun. But the reason I selected this for this video is because this is probably going to be on the more extreme end of what a person would carry for an everyday carry handgun. So anyway, let me get my ears on and let's do some controlled pairs here with my TSOS Raider. Okay, and I got two more shots here, but as you can see, it's sustaining the weight pretty good for a, holding the weight of a 1911. So the belt's doing pretty good, I feel, on that end. Let's do one more pair here. All right, folks, let's take it on back to the rest of the review. Now, so as you can see, it worked great. Now, one thing I did find with the heavier 1911 here, the heavier TSOS Raider, I would actually have to pull my pants up a little bit more often. Kind of pull it up, kind of get myself adjusted every once in a while. To be honest, though, that's not really the belt. That's just more all that weight being on my leg, or being on the belt. And with that being said, I felt it did fine. The belt itself didn't really flex all that much, and it took actually pretty well to this style jacket sleeve system. Now the next thing I did and this is where I ramp it up, and unfortunately I don't have footage of this, but I ramped it up even further, and I had tested the belt with essentially an extreme load of weight on my belt. And the reason I say extreme load is because this is where it starts reaching towards duty level of weight. So TSOS Raider to start with the same style of Serpa holster. The next thing I did is I put my magazine pouch on, which holds 2 magazines for my TSOS Raider or any one of my actually handguns. But so you got 2 8-shot magazines of 45 ACP. Kind of on the heavier end because it's 45 ACP and probably weighs just as much as some double stack 9mm magazines. Now next to that, I would also have a 30 round AR-15 mag, a Stanad magazine, and that would be fully loaded with 5.56 ammunition. Sorry about the interruption there, but one of my dogs decided to open up the door, so had to deal with that really quick, which is why I was pointing at the cameraman in the background to close the door. And then the next item on the belt, which this is all on my left side, the next item was actually my IFAK, which I want to say probably weighs 3-4-ish pounds, which basically has various different medical supplies from tourniquets to bandages, so on and so forth. Basically, we're talking gunshot trauma kit. Now, on the other side, I would just have the TSOS Raider, which I would have the TSOS Raider loaded, so that makes the handgun even heavier, of course. And then next to that, I would actually have a 6-inch Bowie knife. Basically, that's the loadout, my general loadout I carried when I went hunting in July. Basically, whenever I'd go on a hike or something like that, I would just grab my belt, get my belt strapped up, and go for a hike. Not this belt, my actual duty belt. And this belt actually did support the weight very well, even on that end. Now, with that being said, yeah, that was a lot of weight for just a belt. So if you're going to do something that extreme, definitely have a harness to help hold the belt in position, because the belt did keep constantly sliding off my butt. Now, with that being said and done, overall, as a conclusion, what do I think of the belt? Well, here's the thing. The belt literally passed every test that I put it through. It just passed with flying colors, to be honest. I'm, you know, for a $35-ish belt that you can get on Amazon, you can actually get at Walmart.com. I think I might be mistaken. I think I've seen these at Optics Planet. Like, you can get these belts, any of these Kmioc Optics belts, or sorry, Optics belts, these Kmioc belts, like anywhere. Yeah, I would say for the price tag, if you want a serious, more, I want to say this is a more general purpose belt. I mean, this belt is good enough that you could wear it with your everyday clothing and not stand out, but also if you have to be a bit more formal, you could also wear this belt and you would still be fine. It wouldn't look out of the ordinary. The fact that you can replace the belt buckle is a nice feature in my opinion, although I personally don't see a need to. I think this belt buckle's fine. It's nice heavy brass. It's got a roller. There's only one concern I do have, and that's actually the screws. But in all honesty, the screws is something that could be dealt with. Now, I had no issues with my screws, but with the fact that it is screws back here, they can loosen up over time. So you're going to want to periodically check those. Or another thing you could do is, once you do get a belt buckle on there that you want to keep on there, is just put some Loctite on the screws, and that'll help keep them tight. But other than that, the belt's been really good. Now, in all fairness, it's not like I've had this belt for several months. and been able to do some really hardy constant use testing. I've only had it for a short period of time, but yeah, from what I've seen from the testing I have done, I think the belt is actually worth the price tag. So really quick here, before I wrap up the video, I want to say thank you very much to the Patreons. They give extra support to the channel. That helps with ammunition, that helps with being able to do content like this, being able to buy equipment, things of that nature. I also want to say thank you to the representative from Kmioc itself for giving me the opportunity to actually do a review on this belt. It was actually a great pleasure. I was really blown away by the quality of the belt itself. Finally, to the viewers, thank you very much for tuning in. Your viewership does help me. It helps me deal with the YouTube algorithm. The likes, the comments, the shares, all that stuff helps me deal with the YouTube algorithm that keeps burying my content over and over again. And at this point, it's just getting to the part where it's old and I feel beaten down. YouTube's making me feel older than I really am some days, or at least mentally. Anyway, folks, hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and yeah, definitely there'll be also a link. I forgot about this detail. I'll have a link down below so you can go check out this belt on Amazon itself. But hopefully you all enjoyed this video. Thanks again for tuning in. Have yourself a wonderful All right, folks, I'm out here at the range. Going to show you some more about this Kmioc